Hi guys, I'm Nicolle. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my new series, Bodhrán at the Cottage. Do you guys remember the last real group that I gave you? It was quite challenging, going all over the place. I hope you guys took your time and that you were able to do it. It was a nice challenge, hopefully, but if you need something more difficult, just let me know and I can make another video for you. But for this video, for little changes make a big difference, is the tonal hand. And I don't know if you kind of saw in the other video, there was a little bit of a sneak peek where I said it's up to you where you put the hand. We're going to talk about that today. So for example, when you start, there are two places that, you can change the hand as much as you want, of course, but there's two places that really kind of, for me, makes it a little bit more natural for me to change them, a little bit easier, that will give you a slightly different kind of groove. And one of those is the four beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. We kind of have them in a really open bass, but of course you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can push less, 2, 3, 4, or push more. 1, 2. That's completely up to you, but it does make a difference. Or 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, you can always do that little filler waterfall. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just the same as kind of what we do when we do the triplet, but because you're really emphasizing the 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a lot more noticeable. Okay, you can do that. You could potentially do the pop. It's a little bit harder to get up there, and I just don't think it's as nice. It also cuts through the music quite a lot. So I tend to, especially this boom, 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 I kind of like them a lot more bassier. But of course, it's up to you to experiment. And the other thing is that right now I'm only emphasizing the 1, but as we saw on the first video of little changes make a big difference, you can also emphasize the 3. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, you could go 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, and that will also make a difference. I will try to add that on in there just so that you guys can hear it. But for now, I'm just gonna play through those 3 different choices that I gave you. So the bass, a snare, maybe a pushed snare, so it's just a little bit higher, and then a filler waterfall coming down. Okay, so here we go. So you can kind of see the differences. I would be careful also with the waterfall filler. If you have it all the time as well, it can kind of cut through, especially if you have the melody going and you have a lot of these kind of waterfall things happening. Normally I would stick to the bass or maybe a lower snare. But yeah, that's completely your preference as well. And the other thing is that you can see also that there is this thing at the beginning. When you start the groove, we start on the snare position, like I was telling you guys about it before. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. But then when we go boom, back, we have to come back to the pop from the bass. So technically our bass is a lot lower. So that's another place that you could choose where to put your hand. If you do it from the snare, it's a little bit easier to start with because you're right there, and then the bass kind of gives it a little bit different dynamic. But eventually, it won't really make a big difference because when you're playing the music, your 1 is always on the bass, correct? But for example, after you go boom, 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 if you're here, boom, 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 what do? Do you go higher on the snare like at the beginning, or do you go low to the bass like I did on the previous part? So for now, let's try the whole thing, but the 4 basses are actually going to be on a snare, not so high snare, don't push so much, and then we're actually going to go the last one, which is the 1, go all the way down, and you can hear how it's like the bass drops, and that sounds really, really nice. I think I like it more than always doing it on the bass, because it's a lot easier to just keep your hand on the bass for that boom, 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 tiki taka tiki, because you've done it, but it sounds a lot nicer to go bum, 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 boom, tika taka 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 boom, tika taka, because then you really kind of have these drops of the bass that sound a lot nicer than if everything is on that bass all the time. So let's try it on the snare, okay? But from the beginning. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, up, triple it. 1, 2, 3, up, down, down. Ready? Did you hear that? You can kind of practice that as well with every time you go tikiti-kompa, tikiti-pompa without the triplet. Maybe you don't go all the way to the bass, so that you always leave the bass only for the beginning of the phrase every time. If we do that, it will be when we do, it's still a snare, not a bass. So let's try that with everything else that we've added. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, up, triplet, bass, snare, up, triplet, snare, up, snare, higher snare, bass, bass, snare, higher snare, bass, snare, higher So you can kind of see I was a little bit more liberal there at the end, but you can really see that you're adding color by changing something quite small, meaning not going all the way down to the bass or doing a snare instead of a bass. It's such a small change, but it really makes a big difference. So I'm gonna play a little bit with different hand positions. I might add a little bit of triplets. I'm gonna be a little bit more liberal, just so that you can kind of hear how I would just improvise with the hand, and you can hear it and you can see it. So here we go. So you guys can see I was just kind of playing a little bit all over the place with different inspiration of the potentials that I could do. And this is really important once you kind of understand, first of all, what your hand is doing here. If you have a clear map of every single hand position that you have, and then you have an idea of how to access those sounds, and then you have an understanding of where those sounds are, like bass and the snare and the pop, then you're able to mix and match, and you're able to kind of let loose then after a while, and you're able to kind of do it naturally and kind of do the thing that I was doing. It's almost like I was just painting, you know, like a child when they start learning how to paint and they get the 3 primary colors, and sometimes they just paint and mix the colors, and it's just a really nice exploration of the different tonalities that your drum has. If you overdo it, it's just gonna become muddy, right? Just the same as little kids do. It's like they don't really know when to stop, and everything becomes very muddy and messy, and we don't really want that. And of course, painting with your 3 primary colors, your bass, your snare, your pop, is absolutely, there's no problem. But if you want to add a little bit more in there, you can add more of those primary colors, go in between those tones, so in between from pop to the snare and the snare to the bass. You have different snares that you could do. Really experimenting with that in a conscious matter will really allow you to have an understanding, to recreate and to plan, or to be creative in a organized way, if that makes sense. Because if you just move your hand, you will not be able to recreate it. So you have to have some sort of plan or some sort of map in your head. So it's like if this was a violin, you're finding the tones without looking at the frets or without having stickers or whatever. You can't see your hand, you just have to, you have to feel it, and you have to be so comfortable with the movement of your hand so that your own hand doesn't get in the way either. Because if you do everything, for example, like this, you might not have the opportunity to go higher, or that just depends with the style or with how you're feeling. The way I do it, for me, I feel like I have the most access to the drum with the best range possible. So I can really go all the way down, I can go all the way up, I can really change, I can push, I can mute, I can, you know? So finding definitely a map for the tones is really important, and understanding how you actually use it. It's so important to be able to experiment. And like you saw, it's the same thing. It's like you have the basic groove feeling of what you're doing, but because you're changing the tones, you can really match the music so well. And now imagine there at the end that I started putting a little bit more triplets. So you have now your backhand, you have more of the triplets, you have your tipping, if you're doing single in the triplets, double in the triplets, how you're tipping, and you also have your emphasis, tonal, and your ornamentation can make huge variations. And also thinking in phrases, which is what we've been working on. It's not just little chunks at a time, but really you're thinking in phrase, long phrases, small phrases, not so long phrases. You can kind of play with all these elements to make the music more interesting for you and to really match the music. Yeah, I hope this was helpful. Some of these things are a little bit hard to just explain in one video with one groove. This takes many classes to really kind of comprehend tipping, as well as the ornamentation, emphasis, your skeleton, your ghost notes, and also all the different tonalities and possibilities of your drum and what feels comfortable for you. It takes a long time, but I hope that at least this video gives you a glimpse or a little bit of a path to take, to explore, so that you don't feel like, oh, I'm playing the same thing, I'm stuck playing the same thing, I don't really know what to do, or I want to have different variations but I'm not sure how to go on about them. These tips, just take one element. Remember, right now I'm giving you everything, but just take one element, change one emphasis. You don't really have to worry about the tipping unless you're not really like comfortable, for example, at first. And then one emphasis and one tonality, that can already make a huge change to your groove. So try it slowly and be very patient with yourself. And if you have any questions, you can comment down below, or better yet, you can contact me on Instagram. I'm so much faster on Instagram. Sometimes on YouTube it takes me a little bit of time to get to the comments and things like that. But yeah, follow me on Instagram, and I also post a lot of the things that I do and more like personal stuff. And yeah, I'm a little bit faster on Instagram, so you can give it a follow and message me there. But otherwise, if not, message me here, and I'm sure that other people will be happy to kind of also read your comments and maybe comment themselves. Hopefully we can grow the community and help each other out. And yeah, if you have any other suggestions for series, I had so much fun doing this series. I really did. It's such a beautiful, I've been here for a few hours now, so you can probably tell the difference in the lighting from the different videos, but I've had a really fun time kind of preparing the grooves and figuring out what I wanted to teach you guys. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully it won't be as long until the next series, but I would like some ideas. Yeah, so yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.